We live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. All-party delegation led by DMK leader Kani Mozi arrives in Moscow to highlight India's continued fight against terrorism. UAE, Japan express solidarity with India as multi-party delegations reach out. India welcomes UK-Mauritius deal on Chagos Islands in Indian Ocean. Chagos archipelago to be handed over to Mauritius. US-UK military facility at Diego Garcia will remain in operation. Trump administration revokes Harvard's right to enroll foreign students. Harvard calls move unlawful, pledges support for foreign students. Iran warns that there will not be any nuclear deal if the sole purpose of talks is to stop uranium enrichment. Fifth round of talks with the US in Rome today. Bangladesh government's chief advisor Professor Yunus threatens to resign amid political turmoil, says would not continue if the situation remain unchanged. And on to the details now. The third all-party delegation led by DMK Member of Parliament Kani Mozi arrived in Moscow ahead of India's global outreach program on Operation Sindoor. The delegation was received by India's ambassador to Russia, Vinay Kumar. A busy schedule of meetings and interactions awaits the delegation in Moscow on Friday and Saturday. The delegation would carry forth the country's strong message of zero tolerance for terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. During the course of their stay in Moscow, the delegation will be interacting with senior dignitaries from the Federation Council and the State Duma of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and other key interlocutors in think tanks and media. Well, the all-party delegation will also visit Slovenia, Greece, Latvia and Spain. The all-party delegation will project India's national consensus and resolute approach to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Also, it will convey to the world the country's strong message of zero tolerance for terrorism. And the UAE and Japan have expressed solidarity with India in its fight against terrorism as all-party delegations' diplomatic outreach commenced on Thursday to sensitize global leadership about terror emanating from Pakistan. A delegation led by Shiv Sena MP Shrikant Eknath Shinde held talks in the UAE. It will also travel to Congo, Sierra Leone and Liberia. Another delegation headed by Janata Dal United leader Sanjay Kumar Jha is currently in Japan and is scheduled to visit South Korea, Singapore, Indonesia and Malaysia. In Japan, the delegation met Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya, who expressed heartfelt condolences to the victims of the recent Pahalgam terror attack and extended sympathies to those injured. And in an attempt to reach out to citizens across the nation to raise awareness about Operation Sindoor and its significance for India's security and sovereignty, an 11-day-long Tiranga Yatra across the country held from May 13th. The campaign's tone will not be overtly political and they are looking to galvanize people over an issue that has drawn support from all sections of society. Well, Operation Sindoor was launched on May 7 to strike multiple terror sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in retaliation for a deadly attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam on April 22nd, in which 26 tourists were killed. Also, in addition to eliminating over 100 terrorists, the strikes targeted 11 air bases inside Pakistan and inflicted significant damage on their military capabilities. The air, land and sea operations were carried out with calibrated restraint with an emphasis on minimizing civilian casualties. And on the last leg of 3 European nations tour, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar in Germany interacted with members of German Bundestag in Berlin. The members appreciated the strong support for continued growth of India-Germany relations. They also discussed India's firm commitment of combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Well, early on the day, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar chaired the Regional Conference of Ambassadors in Europe in Berlin. During the meeting, the leaders discussed Operation Sindoor and shared the message of zero tolerance for terrorism. They also deliberated on various aspects of more deeply engaging Europe at a time of change. Before Germany, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar also visited Netherlands and Denmark. And with an aim to highlight a northeast region as a land of opportunity, attracting global and domestic investment and bringing together key stakeholders, investors and policymakers on a single platform, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Rising Northeast Investors Summit today at around 10:30 a.m. IST at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. The Rising Northeast Investors Summit, a two-day event from May 23rd-24th, is the culmination of various pre-summit activities. The summit will include ministerial sessions, business-to-government sessions, business-to-business meetings, startups and exhibitions of policy and related initiatives taken by state government and central ministries for investment promotion. Well, the main focus sectors of investment promotion include tourism and hospitality, agro-food processing and allied sectors, textiles, handloom and handicrafts, healthcare, education and skill development, information technology or information technology-enabled services, infrastructure and logistics, energy and entertainment and sports. While India welcomed the signing of treaty between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Mauritius on the return of Mauritian sovereignty over the Chagos archipelago, including Diego Garcia. External Affairs Ministry in a statement said the formal resolution of the long-standing Chagos dispute through this bilateral treaty is a milestone achievement and a positive development for the region. India has consistently supported Mauritius's legitimate claim over the Chagos archipelago in keeping with its principled position on decolonization, respect for sovereignty and the territorial integrity of nations. As a steadfast and long-standing partner of Mauritius, India remains committed to working closely with Mauritius and other like-minded countries to strengthen maritime security and regional stability and ensure peace and prosperity in the Indian Ocean region. Well, the United Kingdom has signed a deal to hand over sovereignty of the Chagos Island to Mauritius. In an agreement, Britain says will also ensure the future of a strategically important US military base. Under the deal, the UK can continue leasing the largest of the islands, Diego Garcia, keeping the key military facility in British and American hands for at least 90 years. The base supports UK forces and allies across the Middle East, East Africa and South Asia. It has a deep water port, an airfield and advanced communication and surveillance capabilities which have been used in missions to disrupt high-value terrorists, including Islamic State threats to the UK.
I signed a deal to secure the joint UK-US base on Diego Garcia. This is absolutely vital for our defence and intelligence, and therefore for the safety and security of the British people. The full assessment of why this is so important is highly classified, but I want to speak as frankly as I can. The strategic location of this base is of the utmost significance to Britain, from deploying aircraft to defeat terrorists in Iraq and Afghanistan, to anticipating threats in the Red Sea and the Indo-Pacific. The base is right at the foundation of our security and safety at home.
And moving on, frustrated over recent developments, Chief Advisor of Interim Government of Bangladesh, Professor Mohammad Yunus, is considering to step down. As per local media, Yunus voiced his desire to resign and address the nation through a televised speech during unofficial discussions at an advisory council meeting on Thursday. He talked about his worries over pressure on his government's performance as duties. Yunus's relationship with political parties and the military has reportedly deteriorated. On Wednesday, it was reported that powerful Army Chief General Waqar-uz-Zaman said elections should be held by December. Meanwhile, Bangladesh's Nationalist Party issued a stark warning that it may be forced to reconsider its cooperation with the interim government if a specific roadmap for holding the next general election within December next is not announced immediately. Also, Yunus's reported threat to stand down comes a day after Bangladesh Nationalist Party held a large-scale protest against the interim government. Yunus has promised polls will be held by June 2026 at the latest, but supporters of the BNP demanded he fixes a date. Speaking at a press conference, BNP Standing Committee member Dr. Khandekar Mosharraf Hussain said the primary agenda of this interim government should be to meet the people's highest aspiration, which is a credible national election. He warned that otherwise it will be difficult for the BNP as a party of the people to continue its cooperation with this government. The BNP leader said the interim government must ensure neutrality as it prepares for the upcoming national election and stressed that retaining politically biased individuals in advisory roles is damaging to both the government's image and public confidence. Also, the BNP leader stressed the need to examine whether the government's various statements and actions regarding the humanitarian corridor and the Chattogram port are truly serving national interest. He asserted that any decision on such matters should only be taken by a government elected by the people on the basis of national consensus. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu condemned the killing of Israeli diplomats, said man who killed embassy staffers wanted to kill Jews. China accuses Philippines of violating sovereignty as tensions escalate in South China Sea. An Indian shooter, Raisa Dillon, bags a silver medal at the ISSF Junior World Cup in Germany.
I'm on a quest to explore the history of Goa. A land steeped in diverse and intersecting cultures and traditions.
I think this is one of my favorite pieces of art in the city.
Here, influences from multiple faiths coalesce in beautiful ways. From religious sites to charming villages and vibrant streets. Watch Postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu strongly condemned the brutal killing of 2 Israeli diplomats in the United States, describing it as a cold-blooded act. The staffers were killed while leaving an event outside the Capital Jewish Museum on Wednesday night. The suspect chanted "Free Palestine" after he was taken into custody, as per the officials. The victims, Yaron Listinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgrim, were a young couple about to get engaged. Israeli embassies around the world have immediately stepped up security.
Last night in Washington, something horrific happened. A brutal terrorist shot in cold blood a young, beautiful couple. Yaron Lishinsky, and Sarah Milgram. Yaron had just bought an engagement ring for Sarah. He was planning to give it to her in Jerusalem next week. They were planning to start a new and happy life together. Well, that tragically did not happen. Yaron and Sarah weren't the victims of a random crime. The terrorist who cruelly gunned them down did so for one reason and one reason alone. He wanted to kill Jews. And as he was taken away, he chanted, "Free Palestine." This is exactly the same chant we heard on October.
Well, Elias Rodriguez, a 31-year-old Chicago resident, has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder after gunning down 2 Israeli embassy staffers outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. Wednesday evening. Rodriguez was arrested at the scene. The victims, Yaron Listinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgram, were killed after attending a Jewish event at the museum.
31-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, Illinois, is now charged by complaint after his initial appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Matthew Sharbaugh with the following: murder in the first degree for the murder of 30-year-old Yaron Lishinsky, a foreign official and official guest of the United States. Mr. Lishinsky was here on official business for the State of Israel. The defendant Rodriguez is also charged with 2 counts of murder in the first degree.
Well, the U.S. authorities are investigating the attack as both a hate crime and an act of terrorism.
We're going to continue, as I said, to investigate this as an act of terrorism and as a hate crime. And as we do so, we will bring additional charges whenever those charges are warranted and provable. And I suspect as we go forward, before we get to the grand jury itself, that there will be more charges added.
Well, the shooting has sparked international outrage. U.S. President Trump and other global leaders condemned the attack, citing a rise in anti-Semitism amid the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict. The U.S. State Department has also condemned the heinous crime.
We condemn the heinous murder of 2 staff members from the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. last night. Every day we talk about in this room the aftermath of one of the most obscene attacks on Jews in history. The October 7th massacre was a reminder to the world that Jew hatred and murder is the hallmark of terrorists and monsters around the world.
Meanwhile, members of U.S. Congress gathered outside the Capitol Jewish Museum to express sympathies and said that no group is safe.
These experiences are meant to scare us, but they're also meant as a reminder that these last 50 years have been kind of a break from thousands of years of anti-Semitism, that it's not gone, that it's been reborn since October 7th of 2023, and that we're all worried. And when it happens to one group, it means really no group is safe. And that's an important message to get across.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced Major General David Zinni as the next head of the Shin Bet domestic security agency, despite a Supreme Court ruling and opposition from Attorney General Gali Baharav Miara. Netanyahu's decision follows months of controversy surrounding the ousting of current Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar, whose dismissal was deemed improper and unlawful by the court. Bar, under investigation for his role in the Hamas attacks on October 7th, was accused of undermining trust with Netanyahu's government. The new appointment comes amid fierce protest against the government's actions, with the opposition leader Yair Lapid and advocacy groups threatening further legal challenges. Far-right Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir defended the move, saying it was the Prime Minister's constitutional right. Zinni, a seasoned military officer, is slated to replace Bar, who will step down in June. And the 5th round of indirect talks between Iran and the United States will be held on Friday in Rome. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will attend a new round of talks with an Iranian delegation over Tehran's nuclear program. Providing details of the Trump-Netanyahu call, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that Trump believes negotiations with Iran are moving in the right direction.
The president spoke to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today. They had a productive discussion. They discussed many things, including, of course, the tragic shooting that took place here in Washington, D.C. last night. But they also did talk about a potential deal with Iran, which the president believes is moving along in the right direction. And as the president told me, and he's told all of you, this deal with Iran could end in two ways. It could end in a very positive diplomatic solution, or it could end in a very negative situation for Iran. So that's why these talks are taking place later this week.
While Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said in a televised interview on Thursday that if the United States aims to end uranium enrichment, then there will be no nuclear deal.
As American officials have expressed in their interviews, that they do not believe that any enrichment can continue in Iran, and they think that we should cease all enrichment activities. If that is their goal, there will be no deal. If they want to take away the right of the Iranian people to use nuclear energy peacefully, we will not have any agreement at all.
Well, Oman has long served as a mediator between US and Iran, facilitating quiet diplomacy amid tensions over Iran's nuclear program and regional security. And moving on, US President Donald Trump's administration revoked Harvard University's ability to enroll international students on Thursday and is forcing current foreign students to transfer to other schools or lose their legal status, while also threatening to expand the crackdown to other colleges. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem accused Harvard of promoting anti-Semitism and ties to China, ordering the termination of its student and exchange visitor certification for 2025-2026. The move follows Harvard's refusal to hand over records on foreign students' protest activities. Noem gave the university 72 hours to comply or face continued sanctions. Harvard, calling the decision illegal and retaliatory, vowed to fight back. Democrats condemned the action, while a federal judge blocked a broader crackdown on foreign students for now. Noem hinted more schools like Columbia could be next, sending shockwaves through higher education nationwide. And tensions between China and Philippines seem to escalate further. China and the Philippines traded accusations on Thursday following a confrontation between two of their vessels in contested waters of the South China Sea. The latest incident in a long-running maritime standoff in the strategic waterway. The Philippines Fisheries Bureau said the lives of a civilian crew were put at risk when the Chinese Coast Guard fired water cannons and swiped a vessel as it conducted marine research around a disputed South China Sea reef. The Chinese Coast Guard said two Philippine vessels had illegally entered waters near Subi Reef and Sandy Cay and organized personnel to land on Sandy Cay. A collision occurred after one of the Philippine vessels ignored multiple warnings and approached a Chinese vessel dangerously, the Coast Guard said, placing full responsibility for the incident on the Philippine side. The Chinese statement did not mention any use of water cannons. And in sports, Indian shooter and Olympian Raisa Dhillon has won the silver medal in women's skeet event at the ISSF Junior World Cup in Germany. The Indian stuck 51 targets in the 60-shot final to finish behind Britain's Phoebe Bodley-Scott. This is Raisa's first individual ISSF World Cup medal. It was also India's third medal at the prestigious tournament and second silver to go with Kanak's gold in the women's air pistol event. And having breached the 90-meter mark in Doha last week, Indian javelin throw ace NRA Chopra will hope to carry the momentum at the Janusz Kościuszynski Memorial in Poland. NRA Chopra will square off against Julian Weber, former European champion yet again in Chorzów City on Friday. Two-time world champion and Paris bronze medal winner Anderson Peters also feature in the tournament. This will be NRA Chopra's third event of the 2025 athletics calendar. He won the Porsche Invitational meet in South Africa in April before bettering his own personal best at the Doha Diamond League last week. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world in the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lepakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.